What is a big failure that taught you a valuable lesson at the time?
3 years ago, I built a store like this, which I thought was going to be great. I didn't even do a third of my projections. It was a big ouch. For 25 years, I worked 16 hours a day, 6 days a week, every week, nonstop. The worst thing you can do, in my opinion, is fall in love with what you're doing and think that you're good. And you should always question yourself. Always question yourself.
This winter, I interviewed Mark, a 67-year-old self-made millionaire who for many reasons has figured life out, but is also still trying to navigate it. Mark has opened over 9 restaurants and is known as one of Canada's culinary leaders. He's had many incredible successes, but he's also lost millions of dollars through his failures. Today, I'm sharing the extended conversation of Mark's greatest life lessons and experiences that I guarantee will change the way you think about life. How old are you?
I am 67 years old.
What does it feel like to be 67?
It's the only time in my life I've actually thought about my age because it's creeping up there. And I think about it all the time. It's just the number. You know, when you tell people you're 60, they're like, oh, okay, you're 60. I still am young at heart and young in mind, and I never want to retire. I have no interest in retiring.
I'm sure a lot of people can't wait to retire. Why do you say you don't want to retire?
But I've had enough time to myself that I realize I don't need a lot of free time. So I like to have responsibility. I like to have something to focus on. I can't imagine sitting home and not having any businesses, no numbers to look at on my phone in the morning when I wake up over coffee. I will hopefully never have to retire.
Yeah, well, that goes hand in hand with loving what you do.
I think men that work late into their life, as long as they enjoy doing what they're doing, I think they're happier. I think they live longer. I believe it's kind of a simple concept. Waking up every morning and going golfing 5 days a week, well, shoot me in the head.
That's fair. We have a mutual friend, Janet Zuccarini.
Absolutely.
And I don't know if you saw her interview with us. She challenged me before she texted me when I said I was interviewing you. She's like, I hope he does better than me.
Okay, there you go. Well, we'll see. We'll see how I do.
I'm sure a lot of people speak to you about your successes, but I would love to flip that and ask you, what is a big failure that happened in your life that taught you a valuable lesson at the time?
4 years ago, I built a store like this at Yonge and Bloor. But I made the fatal mistake of putting it 1 block south of Bloor on Yonge Street, which I thought was going to be great. I really believed I had done all the demographic studies and looked at the neighborhood, and I didn't even do a third of my projections. Wow. So we closed it, and it was a big ouch. It was a big ouch. But a good life lesson, and you know, you can't cry about it. You have to fix it when it's broken. And the only fix to it was to close it. It hurt. I'm more cautious now. You have to second guess yourself all the time on all your impulses. And I'm listening to my wife more.
Were you not before?
She would tell you no. She would tell you no.
There's the first problem. No. For someone who doesn't know you, what do we need to know about your childhood, how you grew up, in order to understand who you are today?
I was a very quiet kid. I observed the world all the time. I had a family of 4. I was the middle child. I cooked when I was in high school because I needed a job. Started out as a dishwasher. I got a job washing dishes for $1.61 an hour. And they needed a cook, so they grabbed me, threw me in the kitchen. I was good at it. I know how to move fast. I have good hand-eye coordination. I think I have good taste, good composure. And my big thing is I'm going to graduate, I'm going to go to hotel school, learn how to be a hotelier, like a general manager. I decided to take a year off. I found a hotel that would take me on as an apprentice chef. I thought, what the hell? I'll give it a year, see if anything comes of it. I got involved and I never looked back. It was like, wow, this is fantastic.
So you kind of stumbled into the path that you're on now?
100%. I remember when I told my family I was going to do an apprenticeship, and they had no idea what that was, what it meant. My grandmother said, "So, Mark, you're gonna learn how to cook. What are you gonna cook? You're gonna cook like chicken? What are you gonna do?" I said, "Probably." But what's so interesting about it is I sort of became within my family like, oh my God, what is Mark doing now? What's he doing now? He's on television and he's opening another restaurant, and he opened up a food store, and it's like they have a lot of fun following what we do, right? So it's been interesting.
How does that make you feel?
Oh, it's great. It's great.
If you're thinking about yourself, analyzing yourself, what are things that you did or what are traits that you have that made you this successful?
It's really hard because I think a lot of my early success and my success in my whole life has been that I've been a very hard worker. You have to be able to put that type of effort into whatever you're going to do. And it's not going to be 9 to 5. For 25 years, I worked 16 hours a day, 6 days a week, every week, nonstop. Raising kids, doing this, going home at night, getting up in the morning, the whole thing. And I had a great wife through it all, 43 years together. Never fought about my work, but that was our life for a long, long time. Doing your own thing sounds great. You have to know what you're in for.
And you'd say most people are not thinking about that enough, maybe?
I think everybody has a level of passion and excitement to do things. You have to be very real about it. If you do a homegrown business, you might be in your garage at night till 11 o'clock, wrapping and mailing and getting stuff ready to deliver to clients. And you might have to have another job to supplement yourself. You don't know what that path's going to look like.
What makes a restaurant great, in your opinion?
You have to reinvest in it all the time. You have to keep the mothership in good shape. It has to always feel fresh to the client. So that just takes dedication, it takes capital, and it takes attention.
Where would you say people go wrong then? Because it's definitely the industry that has probably the highest rate of failure and turnover. So where do most people go wrong?
When a restaurant is good, feels good from the moment you walk in the door to the moment you walk out of the door. And it's always changing, and you always have to go back and reevaluate and be very hard on yourself. The worst thing you can do, in my opinion, is fall in love with what you're doing and think that you're good. You can think you're good, don't think you're great. And you should always question yourself. Always question yourself. It's okay to be insecure, and it's okay to watch what other people do and ask questions, right? I'm happy to learn still. Like, I know what I know. I'd love to know what everybody else knows. You have to be very hard on yourself and just keep looking at your product saying, are we as good as we think we are? And then go out and look at the competition. And you can assess what they do differently. I'm always doing that. I'm not afraid to copy at all. If you've got a better veal parm sandwich than me, I'm going to admit it. Maybe I'll change mine to look more like yours. I'm there to do business. So
you're removing your ego.
I have no ego. I have no ego at all. I try to put myself in my customer's shoes.
If I'm bringing this back into life, I'm thinking about a person wanting to be successful, a person wanting to be approachable, wanting to be liked. I just asked you what makes a great restaurant. What about what makes a great person?
Just be authentic. Live what you preach. So if you preach service and you preach good food and you preach organization and cleanliness, then you have to embody that. You have to be the premium example of that in your company. So you set the standard.
I have a question here from our journal. What is a big goal that you set for yourself that you never achieved?
I thought my company would be a little bigger than what it is at this point, but with COVID and the setback at Bloor & Young, I had envisioned myself with maybe 5 or 6 of these, and I only have 1.5. I have a smaller one and I have the big one.
What's your advice to someone who is still trying to achieve their goals, but they haven't been able to navigate that yet?
I think you have to keep your dreams and expectations within the purview of you being able to maybe achieve them. Write your scenario out on paper and see if it makes any sense to you. Is that realistic? And if that's realistic, you keep working the scenario 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and work through it, right? That's the hard part.
We have created a limited 6-month goal-setting journal that is designed to help you figure out your ideal lifestyle, turn that into a series of detailed goals to achieve it, and then give you 6 full months of goal tracking to build the discipline that you need to get to the next level. The exercises and strategies in this journal are based entirely from the advice that you hear from over 1,000 interviewees every week on our channel and over 10 years of guided journaling experience. So click the link in our description to learn more about it. You said you've been married 43 years?
39, together 43. We had our son before we got married. Eric proudly calls himself the bastard child.
What would you say is a secret to your guys' success as a couple?
Well, I'll tell you, my wife has been a big part of our success. Very steady, mature individual. No drama, just a great girl, right? Could she have married a better looking guy? Sure. Maybe she saw them, I don't know. She's never told me that. You know, and you see pretty faces all around, but are you going to have a better life? Loyalty is important. Loyalty is very important. And once you have it, don't think you can just go and find it again.
Can you define the word love for me?
Oh, love is when you're with somebody and you can't imagine life without them. That's love. That's love.
I appreciate that. That's an emotional one.
You were talking about your parents earlier, both not with you anymore. What is a big lesson that they used to teach you as you were growing up that stuck with you?
I don't remember any great lessons. Like my dad did not sit me down and teach me about the birds and the bees.
Right.
I found out in the yard with the birds and the bees, right? I think what I learned from my family is I always felt loved in my family. I was always taken care of in my family. I always had clean clothes. I always had a mother at home. There was no drama in my family. Did I get yelled at because my grades were C's in elementary school? Sure, I got talked to like every quarter when I got a report card. It's all about that, just having a normal functioning family that doesn't demand perfection from you, because I was not a perfect kid, right? I was a nice kid.
Yeah.
I was far from perfect.
Right. So let's say I'm 25, I'm listening to this, I'm 30, and I want to achieve the same success that you have. Not necessarily I want to have a restaurant and be in the restaurant business, but how does someone young and navigating their life and getting started work their way up to get to the point that you're at?
I had no money when I started. Zero. I remember when I met Roxanne, she was waitressing. She had more money than I did. I think the most valuable thing I had on me was my leather jacket. Because I was a young apprentice, I only made small amount of money. You started from zero. I need a bed. I got to buy a bed. I made a bed, right? I made a bed. I went to the Salvation Army and I bought a dresser. So I think you have to spend your time effectively, and then you have to know where you want to go. You have to have something, like, you have to have a ring to hold on to and say, okay, this is the first thing I'm going to do it, and I'm going to kill it. I'm going to kill it. And then if you kill it, it's going to offer you opportunity. It's going to bring you opportunity. Success will bring you opportunity.
What is the truth about life that you wish more people understood?
Don't sweat the small stuff all the time. Look at the big picture. Generally, you think worse of yourself than other people think of you. Like, people get a lot of weird things in their head. They spend a lot of time. It's wasted time. Life's not difficult to understand. People make it difficult.
What is one thing that when you were younger, you put a lot of importance on, and as you got older, you realized wasn't that important?
You probably could have defined me as a bit one-dimensional for a long time in my life, because all I did was work. I've thought about work.
Do you regret not playing a little bit more when you were younger?
I don't have any regret. No. You sort of have to stay true to who you are. Everybody's a different recipe, and you're built a certain way. I did what I was comfortable doing. I don't have any regrets thinking I wish I'd done this and I wish I'd done that. Maybe I spent a little bit of time in Europe when I finished my apprenticeship. Maybe I should have spent another year there. But no more. I'm glad I came home, because all my stars would not have aligned the same way, right? Who knows? Life is oddly random.
We interviewed Barbara Corcoran, and she said something you're reminding me of, but easy to look at the upside, looking back, hard to actually think about it in the moment.
Yeah, having regrets is a big waste of time.
If you could go back in time to your 25-year-old self, knowing what you know today, you could give him one piece of advice. What would you say to him?
Don't waste your money on stupid stuff.
What's the stupid thing you buy?
Well, everybody buys dumb things, right?
Yeah.
When you're young, if you're like, and this sounds like I'm giving you dad advice, right? But if you start saving when you're young, and you buy a house when you're young, and you put yourself under pressure, instead of wasting money on frivolous little things, you eat well, you work hard, and for that first 15 years, you get a nest egg under you, you'll be like a rocket ship. Most people, they spend far too much on frivolous things.
Thank you very much. Pleasure. I appreciate it.